Beyond the Gates spoilers and newly surfaced ratings information suggests that the ambitious crossover between the CBS daytime drama and its sister series, The Young and the Restless, was not merely a creative experiment designed to generate temporary excitement. Instead, it appears to have become one of the most successful and strategically important television events in Beyond the Gates history. The crossover delivered spectacle, romance, danger, surprising character combinations, and the kind of emotional chaos that daytime viewers rarely get to experience on such a large scale. More importantly, the numbers now indicate that audiences responded exactly as CBS had hoped. What began as an exciting announcement involving several major residents of Genoa City ultimately developed into a landmark week for Beyond the Gates, raising its ratings, expanding its visibility, and proving that the worlds of Fairmont Crest and Genoa City can be brought together without sacrificing the identities of either show. According to information connected to the event, the crossover produced some of Beyond the Gates' strongest audience figures of the season, while The Young and the Restless also continued its impressive streak of attracting more than 3 million viewers. For fans who spent months wondering whether the heavily promoted crossover could live up to its promise, the results offer a clear answer. The collaboration was not only memorable, but also commercially successful enough to justify serious conversations about doing it again. The foundation for the event was laid months earlier. In January, viewers learned that a major storyline was being planned around the arrival of several important The Young and the Restless characters in the world of Beyond the Gates. The proposed guest list immediately created enormous anticipation because it included some of the most recognizable and influential figures in Genoa City. Victor Newman, played by Eric Bredin, was expected to appear alongside his longtime rival and occasional ally Jack Abbott, portrayed by Peter Bergman. Diane Abbott, played by Susan Walters, was also included, as were Abby Winters, Devon Hamilton Winters, and Kyle Abbott. The involvement of these particular characters suggested from the beginning that the crossover would not be limited to a brief cameo or a few polite conversations at a social event. Victor and Jack carry decades of complicated history. Diane and Kyle bring their own family tensions, and Abby and Devon are connected to both the Newman and Winters families. Placing all of them inside the sophisticated but volatile world of Fairmont Crest created countless possibilities for conflict, romance, business negotiations, political intrigue, and unexpected alliances. The announcement also gave viewers a reason to speculate about how these Genoa City personalities would react to the powerful Dupree family, the ambitious Hamiltons, and figures such as Martin Richardson and Joe Armstrong. Every one of those combinations had the potential to generate drama, but few fans could have predicted the scale of the disaster that would transform the elegant gathering into a fight for survival. Beyond the Gates promised that the week of June 8th through June 12th would deliver something CBS daytime audiences had never witnessed before. And the show followed through by constructing the crossover around Martin Richardson's political fundraiser. On the surface, the event appeared to be the ideal setting for two soap opera worlds to meet. The fundraiser brought together wealthy donors, influential families, political supporters, business leaders, and guests from outside Fairmont Crest. Victor, Jack, Diane, Abby, Devon, and Kyle could enter the story naturally as prominent visitors rather than feeling artificially inserted into the narrative. Their presence also raised the social importance of the gala, turning it into more than a local gathering. Martin's political future was at stake. Reputations were being carefully protected, and every character entered the ballroom carrying private motives that were hidden beneath formal clothing and carefully practiced smiles. Victor could evaluate potential allies while quietly studying his competition. Jack could represent the Abbott family's business interests while attempting to maintain peace with Victor. Diane could observe Fairmont Crest's social hierarchy and recognize the dangers hidden behind its polished exterior. Abby and Devon could mingle with powerful families while Kyle, always vulnerable to impulsive decisions, could become drawn towards someone who represented both temptation and disaster. The fundraiser therefore gave the writers a believable structure in which personal relationships, political ambition, and business rivalry could collide. Then the tornado arrived and destroyed every illusion of control. By striking near the end of the gala, the storm transformed a glamorous political event into a terrifying catastrophe. Characters who had spent the evening worrying about appearances suddenly had to worry about survival. Social rivalries became irrelevant as the ballroom shook, debris fell, and people searched desperately for loved ones. The disaster also allowed the crossover to move beyond conversations and introductions. Instead of simply watching Genoa City visitors exchange tense remarks with Fairmont Crest residents, viewers saw characters from both shows trapped inside the same emergency and forced to depend on one another. The tornado exposed courage, fear, selfishness, and instinctive loyalty in ways that an ordinary gala never could. Every damaged wall and fallen object became a potential threat, while every rescue created an emotional connection that could continue affecting the characters long after the storm had passed. The danger felt immediate because the crossover was not built around an abstract business dispute. Lives were genuinely at risk, and one of the most frightening moments involved Abby Winters. After the tornado tore through the venue, Abby attempted to cross the damaged ballroom. The scene was constructed to make viewers believe that she might not survive. The building had already been weakened, visibility was poor, and the once beautiful room had become a dangerous landscape filled with unstable debris. As Abby moved through the ballroom, a massive chandelier began to fall toward her. For a moment, the possibility of tragedy seemed horrifyingly real. Abby is connected to several of Genoa City's most important families, so her death would have affected the Newmans, the Abbotts, the Winters family, and nearly every character who had traveled to Fairmont Crest with her. The image of the chandelier descending created one of the crossover's most memorable cliffhanger moments because it combined visual spectacle with enormous emotional consequences. Fans were forced to consider whether CBS might use the event to deliver a shocking death that would permanently link the two programs. Fortunately, Abby was saved at the last possible second by Joey Armstrong. Joey's rescue became even more compelling because of the contradiction at the center of his character. He is widely regarded as a dangerous criminal, a man capable of manipulation and ruthless decisions. Yet the crossover allowed viewers to see the hidden heart beneath his threatening reputation. He did not hesitate when Abby's life was in danger. Whatever secrets Joey was protecting and whatever crimes he may have committed, his instincts in that moment were heroic. By pulling Abby away from the falling chandelier, Joey prevented a catastrophe and created an unforgettable bond between himself and a woman from Genoa City. The rescue did not magically erase Joey's past or transform him into a conventional hero, but it complicated the audience's understanding of him. A purely evil man might have protected himself and ignored Abby's danger. Joey instead risked his own safety to save someone he barely knew, suggesting that the heart of gold hidden beneath his criminal exterior may be more genuine than many Fairmont Crest residents realize. That single act also opened the door to future stories. Abby could feel indebted to Joey. Victor might become interested in the man who saved his daughter. And Joey's enemies could view his connection to the Newman family as either an opportunity or a threat. Even without an immediate follow-up, the rescue demonstrated why crossovers can be so valuable. They create relationships that could never develop within the normal boundaries of either show. The week was not defined only by danger, however. Soap operas thrive on forbidden attraction and reckless behavior, and the crossover delivered both in abundance. One of the most explosive romantic developments occurred when Kyle Abbott kissed Haley Hamilton. Haley was already known throughout Fairmont Crest as a controversial figure whose relationship with Bill Hamilton had caused resentment and suspicion. She was married, ambitious, and frequently accused of pursuing wealth and status. Kyle, meanwhile, arrived with his own emotional vulnerabilities and a history of making impulsive choices when he felt neglected, angry, or uncertain about his future. Their kiss, therefore, represented more than a moment of physical attraction. It carried the potential to disrupt multiple relationships and create consequences that could extend across both shows. For Haley, kissing Kyle might have been an act of rebellion, manipulation, genuine temptation, or a combination of all three. She may have seen him as a wealthy, attractive outsider who could provide excitement and possibly become useful to her. Kyle may have been drawn to Haley precisely because she was dangerous and unavailable. In the heightened atmosphere surrounding the gala and the tornado, emotional boundaries weakened, making it easier for both characters to act before considering what the kiss might cost them. The significance of that moment cannot be separated from the identities of the people involved. Kyle is not simply a visitor from Genoa City. He is a member of the Abbott family and a man whose private mistakes frequently become public scandals. Haley is not simply another woman attending the fundraiser. She is connected to Bill Hamilton and to the complicated tensions surrounding the Duprees. If the truth about their kiss spreads, it could ignite conflict between Bill and Kyle, draw Jack and Diane into an embarrassing situation, and give Haley's enemies another reason to question her loyalty. It could also affect Kyle's relationships back in Genoa City, especially if the kiss was not an isolated event. The crossover intelligently used a romantic scandal to ensure that the visiting characters would leave behind consequences rather than disappearing without changing anything. A tornado might bring the two communities together temporarily, but a forbidden kiss can keep them connected for months. Even more shocking was the encounter between Donnie Dupree and Bill Hamilton inside an elevator. Their passionate reunion represented years of unresolved emotion exploding at the worst possible time and in one of the most reckless locations imaginable. Donnie and Bill share a painful, complicated history, and their attraction has never been easy to contain. Bill's marriage to Haley did not erase his bond with Donnie, just as Donnie's anger and pride could not completely extinguish her feelings for him. Their elevator encounter therefore became a physical expression of everything they had refused to admit openly. It was passionate, impulsive, dangerous, and almost guaranteed to create devastating consequences if discovered. In a week already filled with disaster, the encounter demonstrated that some characters were capable of creating their own storms even without the help of the weather. The contrast between Kyle and Haley's kiss and Donnie and Bill's elevator encounter made the crossover especially effective. Haley was betraying Bill by becoming involved with Kyle, while Bill was betraying Haley by returning to Donnie. Neither spouse knew the full extent of the other's actions, creating a web of hypocrisy and potential revenge. Haley might condemn Bill if she learned about Donnie while hiding her own kiss with Kyle. Bill might react with rage to Haley's behavior despite having committed a much more serious betrayal himself. Donnie could find herself exposed to humiliation if the elevator incident became public, while Kyle might be pulled into a marital war that had existed long before he arrived in Fairmont Crest. These overlapping betrayals gave the crossover more than temporary excitement. They planted secrets capable of generating new episodes long after the Genoa City visitors returned home. The social media response during the June crossover week reflected the audience's enthusiasm. Fans praised the performers, the pacing, the visual scale of the tornado, and the willingness of the writers to create surprising character combinations. Viewers debated Joey's rescue of Abby, questioned whether he could truly be trusted, and speculated about what Victor might do after learning that a notorious Fairmont Crest figure had saved his daughter. Others focused on the romantic scandals, especially Kyle's kiss with Haley and the explosive elevator encounter between Donnie and Bill. The crossover gave longtime fans of The Young and the Restless a reason to sample beyond the gates. While BTG viewers were introduced to Genoa City characters through a storyline that did not require years of background knowledge, the event also encouraged both audiences to communicate with one another online, comparing histories, sharing theories, and debating which relationships should continue. That interaction mattered because a successful crossover must do more than produce a temporary ratings spike. It should persuade viewers that the two fictional worlds are compatible enough to encourage future visits. The newly reported audience figures suggest that the strategy worked. According to a report attributed to Soap Opera Network, Beyond the Gates achieved its second highest weekly viewership total of the season during the crossover event. The series reportedly averaged approximately 1.796 million viewers, an increase of 162,000 from the previous week's average of 1.634 million. That rise is significant for a daytime drama because it indicates that the event attracted viewers who had not watched consistently during the prior week. The comparison with the previous year was even more encouraging. Beyond the Gates gained approximately 248,000 viewers compared with the corresponding period, rising from about 1.548 million viewers in 2025 to 1.796 million during the crossover week. This represented the show's strongest year-over-year audience growth up to that point and demonstrated that the collaboration did more than shift existing CBS viewers from one program to another. It expanded BTG's reach and placed the series in front of a larger audience than it had enjoyed during many ordinary weeks. The crossover also gave Beyond the Gates its highest ratings in 15 weeks. That detail is particularly important because it suggests that the event reversed or interrupted any period of softer audience performance. Every daytime soap faces fluctuations, especially a relatively new series still building viewer loyalty and establishing its long-term identity. A major crossover can sometimes create only a brief burst of attention, but the scale of the BTG increase showed that audiences were genuinely motivated to tune in. The episode's broadcast near the end of the week performed especially well. The Thursday, June 11th episode reportedly averaged approximately 1.83 million viewers, while the Friday, June 12th broadcast reached around 1.84 million. Those were described as the largest audiences in Beyond the Gates history. The timing makes sense from a storytelling perspective. By Thursday and Friday, the tornado storyline, the threat to Abby, Joey's heroic intervention, and the romantic betrayals had all created strong momentum. Viewers who had heard about the dramatic developments earlier in the week may have tuned in to witness the aftermath, while those who had watched from Monday were unlikely to abandon the story before its most important resolutions. The achievement also shows the value of building a crossover across an entire week rather than concentrating everything into a single episode. A one-day guest appearance might attract curiosity, but a multi-episode event gives viewers time to become invested. The early episodes established a fundraiser and brought the two casts together. The middle of the week increased tension and introduced romantic complications. The tornado then provided the major spectacle, while the final episodes dealt with survival, rescue, exposure, and emotional consequences. This structure encouraged audiences to return each day because the story continued evolving rather than repeating the same promotional gimmick. It also gave the visiting Y&R characters meaningful roles. They were not standing in the background while the regular BTG cast carried the story. Abby became the center of a life-threatening rescue. Kyle became involved with Haley, and the presence of Victor, Jack, Diane, and Devin increased the political and social importance of the gathering. The Young and the Restless also benefited from the wider excitement surrounding the collaboration. During the same general period, the veteran CBS soap continued an impressive run of averaging more than 3 million viewers. The series had reportedly remained above that threshold for 20 consecutive weeks, a streak beginning with the week of January 26th through January 30th, 2026. Y&R added approximately 50,000 weekly viewers, increasing from about 3.055 million to 3.105 million. Although The Young and the Restless was already the larger and more established program, the increase demonstrated that collaborating with Beyond the Gates did not weaken its performance. Instead, the event gave Y&R fans fresh material and placed familiar characters in an unfamiliar environment where their usual power structures could not completely protect them. Victor may dominate many situations in Genoa City, but even Victor cannot negotiate with a tornado. Jack may understand corporate rivalry, but Fairmont Crest introduced new players whose motives he could not immediately read. Kyle's encounter with Haley showed that leaving Genoa City did not free him from his tendency to create personal chaos. By challenging the Y&R characters in a different setting, the crossover made them feel unpredictable again. For CBS, The success of the event offers a powerful lesson about the future of its daytime lineup. Beyond the Gates and The Young and the Restless have distinct tones and histories, but they share enough narrative elements to support continued interaction. Both programs focus on wealthy and influential families, complicated romances, corporate ambition, dangerous secrets, and rivalries that can survive for years. Genoa City and Fairmont Crest are therefore different without being incompatible. A crossover can preserve those differences while using them to create conflict. Victor Newman could clash with Bill Hamilton over control and loyalty. Jack and Martin Richardson could find common ground before political pressure drives them apart. Diane might recognize manipulation in Haley because of her own complicated past. Johnny could travel to Genoa City and discover that the Newman and Abbott families are even more ruthless than the people she knows at home. Joey's rescue of Abby could pull him into Victor's orbit, with Victor offering gratitude while secretly investigating every crime Joey has ever committed. Kyle and Haley's kiss could become the first chapter of a much larger scandal, especially if Bill decides to confront the Abbotts or if Haley follows Kyle to Genoa City. Any future crossover would need to avoid simply repeating the tornado formula. The success of the June event came partly from its novelty, so another collaboration should create a different kind of crisis. A corporate merger, political investigation, medical emergency, criminal conspiracy, or high-profile wedding could bring the cast together again without making the second event feel like an imitation. The writers could also focus more deeply on the relationships already established. Joey and Abby now share a moment that neither of them can easily forget. Kyle and Haley have crossed a dangerous boundary. Donnie and Bill have created a secret that could destroy multiple lives. Victor, Jack, Diane, Devin, and the Fairmont Crest residents have been introduced within the same social world. The groundwork has already been completed, meaning a future crossover could begin with consequences rather than introductions. There is also a strong argument for smaller crossovers between major events. Instead of waiting for another week-long disaster, CBS could send one or two characters between shows whenever a storyline naturally requires it. Joey might visit Genoa City because Abby needs his help or because Victor summons him for a private meeting. Haley could appear on Y&R or while pursuing Kyle or attempting to protect herself from Bill. A Newman or Abbott business deal could bring Jack or Victor back to Fairmont Crest. Donnie could encounter a Genoa City character during a legal, political, or romantic crisis. These shorter appearances would keep the fictional connection alive while preserving the special nature of larger crossover weeks. They could also help viewers move between the two shows more comfortably, strengthening the overall CBS daytime audience. The ratings prove that viewers are willing to follow such connections when the story is worth watching. The increase to 1.796 million viewers, the year-over-year gain of approximately 248,000, the 15-week ratings high, and the record-setting Thursday and Friday episodes all suggest that audiences did not tune in merely because they recognized familiar names. They remained because the crossover delivered genuine drama. Abby's near-death experience mattered. Joey's rescue revealed an unexpected side of him. Kyle and Haley's kiss promised future destruction. Donnie and Bill's elevator encounter exposed feelings that neither of them had successfully buried. The tornado created spectacle, but the emotional consequences gave the event substance. For Beyond the Gates, the success arrived at an important stage in the show's development. As a newer daytime drama, BTG must continuously prove that it can create stories large enough to stand beside long-established series. The crossover gave the program access to iconic characters, but BTG did not simply depend on The Young and the Restless for attention. Its own characters remained central to the most important developments. Joey became the hero of Abby's rescue. Haley became Kyle's forbidden temptation. Donnie and Bill generated one of the event's most scandalous moments. Martin's fundraiser provided the setting that brought everyone together. In other words, the Genoa City visitors helped expand the audience, but the residents of Fairmont Crest gave those viewers compelling reasons to stay. The most important question now is whether CBS will recognize that the crossover has created an opportunity rather than a conclusion. Fans of both shows clearly enjoyed watching their favorite characters enter a larger shared universe, and the audience numbers support the enthusiasm expressed online. Repeating the event too quickly could reduce its impact, but ignoring its success would also be a mistake. The ideal approach would be to allow the consequences of the June crossover to continue developing before eventually bringing the two communities together again. Kyle and Haley's betrayal should not disappear without consequences. Joey's connection to Abby should not be forgotten. Victor's reaction to the man who saved his daughter could become one of the most intriguing bridges between the programs. Donnie and Bill's reckless encounter should create emotional damage that reaches beyond Fairmont Crest's social circle. Ultimately, the Beyond the Gates and the Young and the Restless crossover succeeded because it respected the essential qualities of daytime drama. It brought together powerful families, placed familiar characters in unfamiliar danger, allowed attraction to overcome common sense, and used a spectacular disaster to reveal hidden parts of people who believed they understood themselves. The tornado destroyed the ballroom, but it also destroyed emotional barriers. Joey became a hero when Abby needed him. Kyle and Haley surrendered to temptation. Donnie and Bill acted on feelings they had failed to control. Victor, Jack, Diane, Devin, and the other visitors discovered that Fairmont Crest could be just as dangerous and unpredictable as Genoa City. The ratings now confirm what social media had already suggested. Viewers were fascinated. Beyond the Gates reached one of its largest audiences of the season, achieved its strongest year-over-year growth, recorded its best performance in 15 weeks, and delivered the two most-watched episodes in the show's history during the final days of the crossover. The Young and the Restless maintained its position above 3 million viewers and continued its remarkable 20-week streak. Both shows emerged stronger, and CBS gained proof that collaboration can expand interest without diminishing either series. For that reason, the June crossover should not be remembered as a one-time promotional stunt. It should be viewed as the beginning of a much larger possibility. Fairmont Crest and Genoa City now exist within reach of one another, connected by political ambition, romantic betrayal, family loyalty, criminal danger, and a rescue that nearly ended in tragedy. The doors between the two worlds have been opened, and fans will undoubtedly expect someone to walk through them again. The only mystery is who will make the next journey and whether the next meeting between the residents of Beyond the Gates and the Young and the Restless will begin with a celebration, a secret alliance, a forbidden romance, or another catastrophe capable of changing both shows forever.